us pass. You've obviously all made your mind up about me. I cannot blame you for that. No. Who's gonna kill me? Look at these people! They no longer support me. Look! Why would they? I am your leader, and I just left. What kind of leader does that, huh? What kind of king abandons his people? Anyone? Who wants to be king?
In the mist of early morning, where the sea kisses the land and the gods still speak in thunder, a name rises from the shadows of history. Ragnar Lothbrok, not a king, not a nobleman, just a simple farmer, and yet the man who would forever change the world of the Vikings. He was more than a warrior. He was a dreamer, a rebel, a father, and an instrument of fate. While others were content with the riches of the East, Ragnar looked west, to the unknown, where legends are born and kingdoms are shattered. His belief in his destiny was sharper than any sword, and his vision burned brighter than any fire in Kattegat. This is the story of his rise, his fall, and the legacy that echoes long after his death. Chapter 2, The Burden of Ascension. When Ragnar returned with gold, slaves, and stories, the people rejoiced, but Jarl Haraldsson saw only betrayal. What followed was an inevitable clash, fought with steel and fire, until Haraldsson's blood soaked the earth and Ragnar claimed his place as Jarl of Kattegat. The farmer had become a ruler, but power is a treacherous gift. It widens the horizon, but isolates the soul. Ragnar longed for more than raids. He yearned for a new era, and so he negotiated with King Horik, with the blind seer whispering in his ear, and Aslaug, a mysterious queen at his side. His marriage to Lagertha, the fearless shield maiden, crumbled, not out of hatred, but choice. Ragnar chose fate over love. With Aslaug, he fathered 4 sons, among them Ivar the Boneless, whose twisted body seemed like an insult from the gods, yet whose mind was as sharp as the iron in Ragnar's hand. And though Ragnar severed ties with his old life, Athelstan remained, a monk, a friend, a symbol of a different faith, a different world, one that drew Ragnar in as much as it tore him apart. But in Kattegat, suspicion grew. Floki, driven by fanaticism and jealous devotion, saw in Athelstan a threat, and one night, in whispered shadows, he struck, a dagger not only into a man's heart, but into everything Ragnar still believed in. When Ragnar found his friend's lifeless body, there was no scream, only silence, and in that silence, his faith began to break. Chapter 3, The Fall of Paris. With a broken heart but an unbroken will, Ragnar set sail for Paris, the crown of Christendom, a symbol of wealth, power, and untouchability. But the city, guarded by high walls and cunning defenders, resisted the fury of the Northmen. Wounded, weary, yet driven by a dark intuition, Ragnar knew brute force would not win this war.
I have something to say. I did not become ill because I aspired to be one. It came about because of other people's actions. And I did not become king out of ambition, but once again, I had no choice as a result of other people's actions. But nonetheless, I am king. King Ragnar. That is my name. King Ragnar. What does a king do, yeah?
He rules.
Yes! Good! He rules! And as a ruler, I have the last say. Me! Not you! Not you! Not you! And not you! You've all had your ideas, and they have all failed!
In an act of ultimate deception, he faked his own death, a king in a coffin carried like an offering into the holy city. And as the bells rang and the monks whispered their prayers, Ragnar burst from his wooden grave, tore open the gates, and unleashed chaos. Paris fell, but the cost was steep. His brother Rollo, once a loyal ally, betrayed him, siding with the Franks and crowning himself duke. And as Paris burned beneath the northern flames, Ragnar's soul burned with doubt. He had won, but at what price? Chapter 4, The Final War. After Paris, Ragnar vanished. Years passed, and the man who once shook kings and ignited dreams faded like a shadow at sunset. When he finally returned, it was not as a victorious warrior, but as a broken wanderer, scorned by his own sons, whose hearts he could no longer reach. But Ragnar had one final plan, one greater than any raid or conquest. He wanted to die, not out of weakness, but to spark a revolution. He sailed back to Wessex, surrendered to King Ecbert, the only man who may have truly understood him, and persuaded him to hand him over to King Aelle, knowing that his death would ignite a storm in the hearts of his sons. And so, in a pit of snakes, Ragnar was executed, but not in silence, not like a prisoner. He died like a prophet. With head held high, he cried to Odin, "I welcome death, and I rush to Valhalla." His body fell, but his name, Ragnar Lothbrok, rose. Epilogue, the wrath of the sons. When the news of Ragnar's death reached Kattegat, everything changed. His sons, Ivar, Bjorn, Hvitserk, Ubba, and Sigurd, united under a banner of blood and fire. The great heathen army was born, not out of greed, but vengeance. Not for gold, but for their father. Aelle was sacrificed alive in a blood eagle by Ivar. Ecbert died with a knowing smile, aware that this is exactly what Ragnar wanted. And as England trembled under the fury of the Vikings, as temples burned and kings fell, Ragnar's sons wrote the next chapter. But it was Ragnar who had started the book. He was a farmer, a warrior, a king, a father, and in the end, he was the man who challenged the gods.